And test. We are looking good. Let's go. Nadia, go ahead and test your mic out.
Test.
All right. I know we're a little bit delayed, you guys, right now, and that is mostly because, as you know, our previous live streams have had issues.
This is still very much a work in progress for us.
But we are happy to be with our first but third attempt at a live stream. And you guys, for the topic we have today is about something that is very relevant to any young person who follows the podcast or any young person who is very much well invested into their education. And that is school, but specifically student loans. So we all know that's a pretty heavy topic, and heavy in the sense of there's so much to speak on, where it's like, in all honesty, we're going to have to do a short live today. We might have to do a part 2 on this conversation. If you guys want to see more, we will. But at least for now, we're going to have to leave it at a little bit of a short live, just because, again, we are adjusting the things, and as we keep doing each live, we're going to keep noticing we need more and more equipment and more technology. So, but other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this live. My name is Charles.
And my name is Dario.
And welcome to New Age Podcast. So, Dario, I have a question for you today. Are we going to say anything? My bad. I felt like I was going to.
No.
Okay, cool. I have a question for you today. Student loans. Now, we hear it's called good debt. We hear it's called investing into your future. But do you see it as, and keep in mind, this is our personal opinions, and we'll pull up references as well if we have to. Are student loans investments or destruction to your future?
I feel like this kind of question is varied as an answer for depending on who you're asking. Because if you're asking someone who's going for a degree in like a medical field, medical, it's very much needed to have that degree to be able to do the kind of work that you're planning on doing. But for anyone else that is in a different situation, that's trying to get a different degree. Like I don't want to say like any specific degree and kind of like lessen them, but at least from my perspective, like with what I want to do, I would say it would be needed, but that doesn't mean like I can't work my way around it for now. So I just feel like in general, I feel like it's lackluster.
Okay.
And it's more of, it puts you into a hole for your life. But that's just like, from what I've taken in through research, through talking to family members and people around us. So I just feel like, that's how I was able to at least come up to my decision. But I know you have a more descriptive one, so.
Well, before I even dive into my own opinion and answer, I want to ask you a few more questions just regarding, in this case, our topic. So, the first thing I want to ask you is, do you have any student loans?
No.
Now, what's your major you're going for?
The civil and environmental engineer. That's 2, but I'd rather work to get the 2 and then put it into 1, or have it as 1.
Now, do you think you're going to get student loans?
Most likely.
Do you have an idea of how much you might have to possibly take?
I have yet to even look into it for that main reason of I know it's going to be a lot. I know it's going to put me into debt for years and years to come. So I haven't even researched into it, looked into it, or at least gotten a guesstimate.
Do you at least have an idea of what your ROI possibly might be? And in this case, do you have an idea of how much you would be making as an engineer?
I believe,
at least in your first starting 5 years.
It should be, from what I've researched, should be 50 to 60,000.
50 to 60,000 starting in the 5 years?
Starting, yeah.
Okay. And then do you know at least what the top 10 percentile make in your career?
Between 70 to 90, depending on the company and
really?
Position.
I thought civil engineers are 120 or something like that.
Well, I mean, these past few years, I don't know why, but it dropped. When I was still in high school, when I was in my civil engineering class, it was at 112, 120. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, last year and this year when I continued to research, it's dropped. I can try to do some more research again. My numbers might be wrong, but that's from what I remember.
And if you don't mind me asking, because you brought a good topic, and before I even get my opinion, I just want to know more about you, because me and Dario, we talk, we don't really talk. I ask him about college, I ask him about his goals, but I've never asked this many questions, at least regarding, in the case of financial debt,
yeah.
but regarding in this case for investment-wise. So, would you consider all the debt you possibly are going to inherit as an investment then, for yourself? For your career?
Yes. But it took me a while to answer yes, because I feel like right now, as I'm, studying and kind of like opening the horizon to what I can do instead of specifically doing civil and environmental engineer, I don't know if next thing I pick something else up and now I'm going this way. And maybe this path doesn't require me to have student loans or to even have a degree towards it. So I just feel like with what I'm sticking for, if I were to go for that degree, then I would have to see it as an investment, especially since it's going to be 2 degrees. And from then on, just having the experience, being able to actually then do the job that I had received this degree to go for. But honestly, like it's a lot of ifs. That's why it took me a while to say yes in the first place for if it was an investment or not.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you 2 last questions before I even give my answer. I know I'm asking a lot of questions before I even share anything, but I want to ask you 2 last questions before I get into it. Because when I get into it, I'm afraid I might get too into it where I would at least want people to know all the details, at least on your side. And the first question I want to ask you is, what do you think is too much and what do you think is just enough when it comes to student loans?
Honestly, this is where I don't know.
Okay.
Because when I would talk to family members or do research and stuff, at least with the research, I would get numbers, but it was like, for this career, you had this much in debt. But I was more of, I wanted to know through friends and family, like personal people like I can know. But then that's when it comes down to like, they don't want to throw numbers out there, especially to a younger person. They don't want to throw numbers out there like that.
Yeah.
So I understand it. But I was basically told in the sense of like, if you wanted to picture it, like, they're going to be paying, like, they might be in their 40s, 50s already using that degree that they received, but they've told me, like, they're still in debt and they expect to be in debt for another 15 to 20 years, like, more. So it's like, you might not have to say a number specifically, but just judging from that, like, with the degree or, like, with whatever position they got with that degree and how much as a guesstimate or what you can look up and kind of guess what that job is getting annually, you can kind of guess, like, okay, if this is how much they're receiving annually and they say, like, they still feel like they're going to be in debt for more years on, like, that's got to be a hefty one. Well, I mean, also not to count in, like, obviously the bills and everything else have to pay at home. That's another reason why, like, that's something I feel like we could talk about too, is just some people don't prioritize paying off the student loan because of things like car bills, house bills, groceries and stuff like that. Yeah. But, we can touch into that later.
I know 6-figure earners with student loans and they still pay the minimal just because they're like, yeah. But they have the money to pay it cash. Okay. And then the last question I was going to ask you, and then I'll share my opinion. At least where I stand on it for my own personal point of view and for my own personal career choice, as well as the statistics that I am aware of. And we're getting a little bit new to this live streaming, so we wanted to pull it up on here, but at least I'm able to pull it up for me and Dario to see. And later, we encourage you guys. I'll give you guys exactly what to search. You guys can search it with us. If not, and we upload it later, We'll have the video there for you guys, or the statistics of what I'm looking at for you to see as well. But, Dario, my last question I want to ask is, since we already know it's an investment, and depending on the career, and we already know in this case, or you said you don't have a specific number, you do know people usually pay for a while. My last question I want to ask you, and then I'm going to share, is do you believe student loans prevent entrepreneurs being made?
It can. Because like I said, there's some people that kind of push that student loan to the side and ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that are aware of it and they're like, okay, I want to invest my money into this business that I'm starting and bring it from the ground up. I have to get this equipment, this and this and this. All while, they still have to think about paying the bare minimum for that student loan. But eventually, that student loan is going to be by their side as they're building up. So they're going to have to realize, or they're going to realize very quickly, that as they're trying to do their own business and investing in their business and just kind of building it up with their own finances and everything, that they also have other things, other bills and stuff that you have to pay for. And the student loan adding on top of that can be very much of like a restriction or like some change to progress of how someone with like an entrepreneurship mindset or someone who's trying to get something done in that sense, like some change, holding them back, restricting them, like kind of instead of having something done, okay, let's have this, I want to try to get to this set point with this business in 2 years. And then with the student loan, like there's times where you have to like stop investing or you have to, there's things that hold you back. So now that 2 year like set point now turns into 5 or it turns into 6, it turns into more. So I feel like it can be a restriction. It can be something that will hold entrepreneurs back. But that's also something I'm sure, they would be aware of, or they would at least think about and try to figure out how they can go about it. Because I don't think that it's not doable. I'm sure it can be very much be doable of getting it done at the same time, handling your finances. It's just now of money management, understanding, what goes where, when you're able to invest into your company and into your brand, but at the same time still pay for bills, still pay for the student loan, and, still have a little bit to spare for emergencies, for anything that happens, whether it's for your business or for yourself or for your family. Like, there's a lot of things that come into play, but it all just comes down to how far you've thought about it and, what you're willing to do and what you can and cannot do with those restrictions.
Okay. Now I'll give my opinion. I just want at least everything to be heard on your side, so my side doesn't seem so one-sided in this conversation. At least has two sides. And it's not that I'm one-sided against it. So I'll make one thing clear right now. I think college is great. I think universities are great. I don't think they're for everyone, but I do think they're great. Student loans have a good intention, but the market and the people who fund them have bad intentions. My first thing I'll say on student loans, is it investment or destruction? Understanding people our age and understanding majority, not saying everybody, but the majority of people between the age of 18 to 24, because that's usually the time you're in school, at least post-secondary school, so college, university, stuff like that. We've learned everything you could think of when it comes to books, except finances. And as far as I'm concerned, people don't really start learning a finance class until after their first year. And my main thing is, and keep in mind, the main issue I have is just the contradictory behind it. You need a qualified credit score to get a small personal loan, and you need experience, you need a co-sign, you need a bunch of different things to get a small personal loan between $1,000 to $10,000. And I'm telling you that because I had to build my credit while I was young. You need a certain amount of income, all that kind of stuff, okay? Awesome. You need a co-signer some dealers are honestly like really like they have bad intentions, so they'll give it away, but at a super high APR rate. But either way, you need some type of credit to get a car. You will get denied for credit cards, legit ones that have good interest rates, that have good rewards, that have qualities that will benefit you as a consumer. But there's so many requirements for those. But for a student loan, you could be given $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000, $120,000. You could be given. There's no cap on student loans, and the interest rates where they start is insanely high to anybody who understands finances. And you could be given that simply by signing a dotted line. No credit history, no experience with finances, and no reliable source of income, no long employment history. And yet, you could be given, I'll say, a quarter to about half, and some people have been given up to a full amount that people have to work hard, build credit, keep a certain amount of debt to income ratio, and have an employment history just to get a house. You could get that same amount signing a student loan. So my main thing is this: student loans, as in funding to help a student's college, is not bad. That is supposed to be good. The part that's bad is they understood people our age never really handled big amounts of money like that. They don't really understand interest rates. I'm guilty of it too. We don't understand credit reports. We don't understand the credit bureau. We don't understand long-term effects of our finances when we take certain transactions. And you want to tell me so again, I get the intention is to help students fund their loans. But if you see how these private lenders and even federal loans are taking advantage of students who are naive, if we're being honest, for taking large amounts, it's wrong. That's why I think student loans lead to destruction. We have, I don't remember the exact number. Let me see if I can actually pull this up. Am I still screen mirroring? Let's check.
But not on the live, so you'll be fine.
Oh, I knew this thing was going to happen. Okay, you know what? While they're watching TV, I could connect to their TV. Okay. All I'm going to say is I believe we're in $1 trillion of debt. That's for sure. When it comes to student loans. America alone. Americans, if we're being exact. Americans are trillions of dollars in debt. And you know what the worst part is? Dario, do you know anything about loans? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. This is a genuine question.
Very little.
Okay.
Very little.
I'm going to give this little story. I took a personal loan when I was the age of 16. This personal loan was $4,000. It was with my credit union. I was fortunate enough to have my dad co-sign me. He co-signed me because I wanted to use that money to build my project car, which was a Firebird Trans Am 98. It used to be his car, but he ended up giving it to me, and he just told me the deal is it's my car. All I have to do is simply fund it, like make the car run. I ended up giving up, and we ended up selling the car. But I wish, and it sounds bad, but I wish everybody our age, every high schooler, can take a small personal loan so they could see how loans work before they even take a student loan. Because when I had my personal loan, I was paying the minimum monthly continuously. Keep in mind, this is a credit union, so my rates are fixed. All these student loans have variable rates, which is bad. But my loans are fixed, meaning what I saw as the amount that's the balance, I'm going to pay that and nothing's going to go up. But I thought I'm borrowing $4,000. Interest is about 8%. It was about 8%, 8 point something. That's not that bad, right? Maybe I'll be owing like an extra $800. Because I was paying the minimum for so long, I ended up paying another $1,100. I borrowed $4,000. I paid back $5,100. That's a small loan of $4,000. Can you just imagine what's the let's guess it. What's the average lowest student loan you think that people take? What's the average student loan you think people take?
Average?
Yeah. I don't know the answer. That's why we're going with Google.
Shoot, I would throw in the number of 30s.
30s?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good. So it says the average federal student loan debt. Can you see? My bad.
No.
Oh, you still can't see the right. It's $36,510 per borrower. $36,000. And if these people now inheriting that debt after school go to, actually, I'm gonna have the next little thing for you. Anyways, actually, let me keep it on. Yeah. No, but if these people try to go and get a $36,000 personal loan to start a business, they will be denied instantly. But a $36,000 loan with insane APR rate as a student loan to help their education gets approved instantly. So my main thing is this. I personally believe student loans maintain an economy where we will always have workers be workers. Because no matter what, they may have aspirations, ambitions, but they are tied to a debt where they are obligated to stick to an hourly paid job. Otherwise, the government's going to come after them. Because again, for those of you guys who don't know finances, and again, I am not in school. I have not been in school for the last year. But that doesn't mean I don't stop educating myself. I've educated myself 5 times the amount since I left school. So I want to make that part clear. I'm not in school, but that does not mean I'm not educated. I want to make that part clear. Dario, he's very well educated as well, and he does a well balance of both. I'm not gonna put any business. Anyways, I'll put my business out there. But what? Okay. Do you know what bankruptcy is? Okay. So tell me the connection between bankruptcy and student loans.
The connection?
Yeah.
Well, I would just see it in the sense of the student loan takes up too much that the person can no longer even pay for the minimum in general, to the point where they become bankrupt because they can't even pay the minimum. And doesn't like the interest increase as well?
Okay, so when it comes to bankruptcy and student loans, the connection is you can file bankruptcy for any debt you have tied to your name. But what that is if I file bankruptcy and I have a $36,000 car loan, I have a $200,000 mortgage home, and I have, let's just say, maybe like $6,000 in credit cards or whatever, I could file bankruptcy. And I forgot what the consequence is exactly. There's a certain consequence. I forgot what the consequence is. But I could file bankruptcy, and the only thing is, it will clear my debt, but my car gets repoed. They take my car because they pay the debt, right? As for my home, I lose my home. They take the home, but I'm free of debt. Do you get it? And here's the part where this is where I'm like, come on, you guys just need to at least understand student loans. I don't think it's an investment because it's the only loan the government will never let you escape. You cannot file bankruptcy on any student loan whatsoever. It could be $1 and you can never file bankruptcy. You could have that student loan for a while and you could be paying the minimum so much and they don't do a student loan forgiveness or whatever. You can never escape a student loan. The only way to escape a student loan is death. You ever hear that phrase, I'm going to be paying student loans for life? It's real. You cannot escape a student loan unless you pay it. And I'll be honest with you, the problem with student loans is it's like every other loan. Yes, pay it. That's how you solve the answer, right? You pay it. How else you solve the answer? Don't take it. You either pay it or you don't take it. The government's not going to come save you because only, I believe, it's like 1 to 5% actually receive student loan forgiveness. And all the people who receive student loan debt, only 1 to 5% actually get the forgiveness. So don't count on that. That's a 95 to 99% ratio not in your favor. And here's something really interesting because I do a lot of heavy research. So funny thing about me, and this is my issue. When someone tells me you should go do this, I acknowledge them. I respect them for their recommendation. But the first thing I do is I question every single reason on why they're going to recommend that to me. Because I believe this. The average person will recommend what the average person just told them to keep a economy average. I'm not saying nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying nothing against it. I just know what my family had to do and what my own father had to do to not let me just settle being average, to make something of. I know I'm a religious person. I know that God did not put me on this earth to just say, okay, you're going to live this life. You're going to be an average Joe, and you're going to be okay with it. And to tell me that, like, that's what God wants from me, like, no. To tell me that's what my dad had to work multiple jobs for, no. That's wrong. I'm not going to do that. So the first thing I did, and I want you to at least, I'm going to ask you questions. I just want you to type it, and I want you to tell me the answer, okay? Like, I just want to prove, like is it a magic trick or what? No. I just want to prove that the answers are out there. No one just ever asked the questions. I repeat that. The answers are out there, but no one ever asked the questions. And that's what I feel like we need to start doing, especially regarding the student loan debt crisis. The first question I want to ask you, and you could go ahead and ask Google, is what is the average age people pay off student loan debt? And then just say the answer. That was the first thing that pops up.
In 2019, a New York Life study found that people took an average 18.5 years to pay off their student loan balances. Most borrowers finally escape student loan debt at the age of 45.
So age of 45, right? That's the average we have. Okay, so now I want you to search this next question. What is the average age people start a business? I'm just going to share with everybody.
I forget that your stuff is in Spanish. So more broadly, 2018 research published in the Harvard Business Review found that the average age at which a successful founder started their company is 45. So literally right after you get out of debt.
So, dude, when look,
goes into the question you asked me.
Look, this I want to make this part clear. I'm not going to share everything because I don't know if I could get in trouble from work if I say this, but when I have free time, and Dario knows when I have free time, I ask so many questions because when I don't feel okay with where I'm at, I ask myself why. And every why leads to something. When I tell myself, maybe I should go back to school, I'm like, why? And my answer always revolves back to the same thing. If that's not my decision, it's everyone else's, or fear is making me react. Fear of the future. Fear of what if I can't make it. But when I ask myself, you know what? I want to know, because I know I have to take student loans, like you. I know for sure. I say this all the time. Middle class suffers more than any other class, dude. If your parents are working, or at least one parent's working, and they make at least just enough, but they have multiple kids, Hispanic families can definitely relate. I would say a lot of families, Hispanic, Black, Asian. I've seen many families relate to this. You don't get a lot of government help, but you are expected to pay everything the government wants. And I'm not saying nothing like, oh, he's like anti-government. No. I'm just saying that that's just facts. That's it. And one thing I want to say right now is, I know you had to take student loans, and I know I would have to take student loans. That's a fact, right? I told myself, if I take student loans, how long would it take me to pay them? And when I searched that, I'm like, okay, but I know I want to be able to start a business. And I asked myself this. We both know someone. I know more. Okay, so you just met him. I know someone who's a genius in marketing. A genius. A genius in business building. A genius. This dude, I know if he took the jump, but bit the bullet, he may have a moment of living in a cardboard box, as they say. But I know for a fact he would build something, an empire for his family and himself. And I know he has the capability of doing it. He was very well educated, multiple degrees, but because with those degrees, he's told me himself he would never be able to do that because he will always have to worry about paying that monthly fee of his loans. He could file bankruptcy and lose everything else and he'll be okay with it, but he cannot escape those student loans. If the average age people pay off student loan debt is 45, and the average age people start a successful business is 45, do you really want to sacrifice from 18 to 45 of free choice, of that ability to take the risk? Now, I'm not against student loans. I want people to be aware. Do you really want to sacrifice the ability to live your life and be able to do things you are passionate about and want to do? Be okay with the consequences. Because sadly, with student loans, you're not given that opportunity. That was my spiel.
No, because the good thing is how you were trying to explain it is for yourself, when you have these questions, I see it as like it becomes you create a spider web of
everything's connected.
Look at this, and look at this, and you go all over the place. But you have that knowledge that you receive
from you should have seen that one.
From just the amount of research you do, because you do a lot more research than majority of people that I know. So for me, for this kind of topic, for you have more like receipts. You have more of, up here, and I'm kind of like, I have what's up here, but at the same time, I'm trying to go off of what I personally know. Yeah. And I'm not very well informed when it comes to the whole finances and being in debt and taking loans and this and that. I'm not very informed. I am one of those people that, I'm not very informed. And I would fall into that bubble of, I would take out a loan and I would just pay the minimum. But next thing you know, I am now paying this increased jump by the end of it because of the interest rate, especially since, I haven't taken out a loan at all. So interest rate would be even high. So it's like, these kind of things, I don't know them, but at the same time, reaching out to someone and having this kind of conversation may or may not be as equal. Because I know back in 2000 or even before that, like the money fluctuation was different, the interest rate was different. I saw this one video that was going popular, I believe a year ago, maybe two, maybe even more, but I saw this a year ago. And it was a gentleman that was in a court case, and he was trying to justify the fact that each judge had paid a certain amount for their degree in student loans, and he was comparing the amount they paid during their time and the amount a student today is
it's
paying.
Insane on the difference. The difference is so insane.
It's not even like times 10. Sometimes it's like times 20,
times 30, times 50.
It's insane. Yeah, exactly. It's insane, and it's just the fact that even just that little interview, because I don't remember seeing all of it, but even just that little comparison of hearing, okay, this judge spent this amount because he went to this university, and then she spent this amount because she went to this university. Now a student going for the same degree in the same location, same university, is now paying this much more amount, like multiplied to what they had paid for. And then he also threw in, the what was it, the minimum wage. He was like, the minimum wage in this state is this much, and then doing, any like just this casual job at a fast food place. Like, there's no way a young person who's taken up student debt to get this degree and at the same time is trying to work a job that they're allowed to be hired for, be able to even get close to paying for that degree, not even before the age that these judges paid for it. And
can I make a point on that real quick?
By all means, like,
dude,
this
is something that I hope every adult and parent understands, because I've had to explain this to friends' parents. I've had to explain this to my own parents. I've had to explain this to strangers' parents. And what sucks is the fact that a 19-year-old has to teach adults about inflation. Because, yes, in your time, you could say, oh, you guys just don't know how to take care of finances. You guys I paid my college debt. How come you guys can't do that? Realize this. When you took out a student loan, your $2,000s compared to $20,000 now. Your salary that you got after you took those student loans when they were much lower then increased to make that profitable to make that an investment. Now students are starting to have to take high amounts to get a median average salary, because the average salary in the US is around 50,000, and people are getting just a little bit above that to start off with their degree, and they have twice that amount. It wasn't like that back then, because you got your job as inflation grew, meaning your pay grew as the years grew, and you had more of the ability to pay off your debt because college student loans wasn't that high then. But now that you had kids after your salary raised, they were born into this inflation. So now they must take higher amounts than you could even imagine, and they will not see that same return the moment they get their job. That's my big issue, because I see it often, and I see adults be like, I paid my student loans, you can too, it's not that big of a deal, stuff like that. But the amounts, and them being adults and not seeing the simplicities of inflation and the way an economy works, it mind boggles me sometimes. And it's unfair to us as youth, because if we are the future, why is that being borrowed? Why do we have to suffer financial issues simply because we were told it's doable? There are people I know who have incredible high amounts of debt and were working the same job that I didn't even need a degree for. The job I'm in right now, everybody in that building has a degree. I don't have a single degree. But that's because I stand on the values that school is great. School teaches you some valuable things. But I believe you learn how to learn. And the problem is, no one teaches themselves or no one teaches their children how to learn. So school will come in and do that for an insane amount. I told myself, I'm going to teach myself how to learn any way, any possible thing. And learning is asking a question and applying an answer. That's learning. Learning is life experiences. There's so many ways to learn. But we always focus on one area. And we have to pay a heavy price. That's my big issue, because I see adults pressure the youth into taking a student loan to go to college. And I think that's bad. If you could go to college for free, great. You're winning. If you haven't taken any student loans, great. You're winning. But for those of you who feel like you have to take a student loan and you're already aware you have to, and you feel like you just have to go to college, and I get there's other circumstances too, being first generation of all types of things, there's a lot of pressure. But you want to have a future and assets you could pass down to your children. You don't want them having to always see you not enjoy life, because then they're not even going to know what that looks like. So they're going to repeat your mistakes. That's just the way I view it. Now I'm going to at least a couple more questions, and I feel like we can end this live. I feel like I got too empathetic with this, but dude, I feel for it, because I was in those shoes. I was looking at my financial aid package. I was told in high school, student loans are an investment. Just do it. Doesn't matter. I got student loans and I'm fine. For now. But I was told student loans are an investment for your future. And I was in those shoes. So when I opened my packet for multiple schools I applied to, and I got into, I put 8 applications, I got into 6. I got into all my UCs, UC San Diego, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, and UC Merced. All of them got into. But when I looked at those finances, that personal loan that I talked about before pops back in my head. When I saw these loans, and I saw that FAFSA will cover me for this. Financial will cover me for this. I'm going to say that. Financial will cover me this. Financial scholarship for this. But I'll have to take this amount of loans. That personal loan I took when I was young came back into my head. And I was afraid. So I went with CSUN because it was a much affordable option. And if I'm being honest with you, because school was online for the beginning, it was definitely a lot more affordable. It was a lot more affordable than if I chose a UC. But now looking back, if I were to do college again, I would do online, so I only pay a tuition of a 4 year, or I'll do a community college. Because now understanding how finances work, and keep in mind I have like 4 credit cards. I'm not in debt. I just keep everything at a certain balance to keep building my credit. I have personal loans for a reason. I have a car loan, but it's mine. I already paid off a $15,000 car loan. I paid off that personal loan I had when I was 16. Dude, I understand finances from actually taking loans by qualifying for them and taking small loans that I know I could pay off much more faster. You only need 6 months of debt for it to reflect on your credit report. Just 6 months. Why are you going to take 18 and a half years? If you need 6 months to reflect this credit on your credit report, why would you take 18 and a half years? It doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like I was going to get to a point, but honestly, I lost myself, not going to lie. But, okay, back to so when I was looking at the financial aid package, I told myself, if I go to this school, my dad will be happy he had a child go to UCLA. My parents will be happy they had a child go to a 4-year college. My grandparents and every family member I know that's an adult would be happy that I chose college as my option, disregarding the financial consequences, because we all knew we couldn't afford it. And that by far is the toughest decision I know everyone our age makes, everyone around our age has to make, and everyone who's gonna have to make that decision or has already made that decision. That was by far the toughest decision you had to make when you're first generation. Do I make them happy, or do I follow my gut instinct? And that's just at least my own story on the moment I realized I'm not going to take an opportunity to go to UCLA. Because I was pretty good in school. I was top 10%. But I knew just from taking a loan, just from having actually a credit card. Because I had a credit card by the age of 17. It was a small credit card, about $1,000. Then I had another credit card, about $500. But like I was doing that. I understood when I overspent. I understood how interest rate works. I understood all that. And it's going to lead me to my last thing, and I feel like we could probably close with this unless you have something you want to share. And this question is, should I take a student loan? Am I ready to take a student loan? I'm going to ask you that question first, then I'm going to share. So now you're speaking to the person who's asking you, should I take a student loan?
I feel like it's because you need a little breather.
I need a drink.
So should you take a student loan? Off of what you said and off of what I said, it would kind of go down to if you're ready for it. You know, definitely weigh out the options of how much the student loan is, and when there's a lot of things, you know, when you would start paying for it. Like, do you have a job? Are you able to at least start the fluctuation of paying for it? If you don't have a job, are you going to plan on getting a job right now, like as soon as possible? Are you just going to focus on school but have that student loan so that once you get that degree, you can now focus on that career, get the money from there? There's a lot of things you can think about, but definitely understanding if you're ready, understanding the fluctuation now and comparing it, because like you were saying, there's a lot of degrees now where you pay a lot more for that student loan to receive that degree than what you'd even be making now having that degree. So it's something that's definitely something I would at least tell you to look up, to do some research and kind of figure out where you would stand in that situation. But then definitely I would also at least say get some somebody else's perspective. whether it's, it's your parents, whether it's someone you trust, it's like close friend or close family member, someone you can talk to. But at the same time, you know, it wouldn't hurt to keep in mind what Charles was saying was how, your parents might just have that thought of, oh, like my son or daughter made it to this university out of my family. He or she made it there. Or, oh, you should just do it because I paid for my student debt and I know you can pay for it too. So just have that in mind, that might be something that's brought up, but at least go in with that mindset of, I want to understand somebody else's perspective of how they would see me in this position. Do they feel like I'm making the right choice, whether to take it or not to take it? And how would I see myself afterwards when it comes down to now, now that I'm getting close to 45? Am I almost finishing that student loan? Do I still have half of it? Do I have to still pay for it? And am I even using that degree? That's another thing. Are you even using that degree at that point? Because some people, no offense, no, not trying to attack or nothing. It's just there's people that will invest, will strongly invest into that degree to then turn out that they're not happy doing that career. They want to do something else, but they still have that student loan for that degree that they went for. And now it's like, do they jump into more student debt to get a different degree? Do they just jump into something else completely that doesn't require a degree? Like, there's a lot of things that you can think of. And definitely this is one of those topics where you have to think about a lot of different aspects, a lot of different questions, like how you were saying, or how I kind of pointed out. It becomes a spider web of different things. You have to ask different questions and bounce around between so many things to at least at the end be in a position where you're like, okay, I've researched this and I understand this. I feel like I might be lacking in this aspect. Let me research more on that, or let me get a different perspective. Let me get an outsider perspective on this position. Let me ask that, so you can at least get different ideas, different answers. But all in all, fill yourself with that knowledge that you're going to need to make a decision that you're going to be comfortable and confident with at the end of the day. But that's my decision. That's what I would, tell as the person.
Great stuff. Honestly, I can see someone there being, yes, I will
I will do that.
Okay, for me, I would ask them a simple 3 questions. My first question is this really what you want? Or is this what someone else wants out of you? If this is what you want, you could go to my second question. My second question is, what's the ROI? Because at the end of the day, I don't care what you say, money does matter. We live in America. There's 2 things I was always raised with, which is that you can't escape from: taxes and death. So no matter what, you're going to college for something. You're trying to make money. That's the reason why you go to college, right? So you can make more money without having to do hard labor jobs. That's the reason why you're going to college, if we're being honest. What's the ROI? If you're telling me you're going to take $200,000 of student loan debt and you're going to go be a math teacher, I'm going to tell you that ROI is not in your favor. Just to clarify, in case there's someone out there who doesn't know what ROI is. ROI is return on investment. Meaning if I'm spending, let's just say, $2,000 on a bike, I'm going to fix it up and then I'm going to sell it for $3,000. My ROI is $1,000 plus because I just made a profit of $1,000. So in this case, if your ROI is not in your favor and you choose, or let's say it is in your favor, you only get $20,000 or $30,000 student loan debt, but you have a master's degree in electrical engineering, or was it software engineering? Because that's definitely going to grow up in the market after COVID and all this online stuff. I would tell you, okay, good. that ROI is in your favor. Yes, you're gonna have to take some time to pay it off, but it won't be 18.5 years. If you're actually dedicated to paying it off, you'll probably be making around 130,000, 150,000 a year, and you're gonna get it paid off within 5 years if you really dedicate yourself. So what's the ROI? And this is for you. My last question I'm gonna ask you is: learn about finances, or do you know about finances? And if you don't, go learn about them. You could buy a book. You could watch a finance show. Dave Ramsey is one of the biggest ones I follow. That's how I learned a lot about student loans. So that's what made me start questioning. Every single time I hear information on something, before I believe it, I Google it myself and I research on it. And then I'm like, wow, no one told me this. So the third thing I'll ask you is, do you know about finances? And if you don't know about finances, I encourage you to go learn before you even take $1 worth of student loan debt. Go learn about finances. Go learn about the market. Go learn about variable rates, interest rates, graduate rates. Go learn about every single rate you could possibly learn. Go learn about tax deductibles. Go learn about everything about money, because you will never be properly educated unless life makes you learn it. I know someone who has a good amount of college or student loan debt as an electrical engineer. Guess what he does? He's a realtor. Actually, that's a lie. He's a broker now, and he's also a mortgage loan officer. But that's what I mean. Like, you need to know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, stop feeling like you have to go to school and take on debt so you feel like you're doing something. No. I think it's ridiculous that we have to believe that by 18, we spent 12 years thinking a certain way, educating ourselves a certain way, studying a certain way, and believing a certain way, that now by 18 we must decide for ourselves one of the biggest decisions in our life, which is, what am I going to go do with my life? That is ridiculous. So you need to know what you want. Do you really want to be this doctor? Do you really want, that you're going to have to pull student loans for? Do you really want it? Okay, yes, you really want it, and you know this is what you're going to do, and you know the ROI is in your favor. Cool. Now let's go learn about finances, and let's see if we can find out a way where you don't have to take the student loans. When you learn about money, if you find it easier. I'm gonna throw in a bonus thing, because honestly, like I'm like, dude, there's just so many people around me who are. I don't like giving unsolicited advice because I don't really like receiving it. I receive it better now. I'm very much more passive when it comes to learning. So if you're taking it, I don't take it as negative as I used to, which is good because that's a good habit to build. But I still don't like giving unsolicited advice. But if I could tell you the amount of people I know, if I could put them in a bowl, and milk is the amount of people who actually know that they genuinely want to go to college for their career, and the bowl, the cereal in the bowl, is the people who are choosing college or just went to college or going to college simply because they feel like they have to, or they didn't know what the next step was, or they just believed, okay, maybe college is the step, but they don't really know, but they're inheriting or putting money into it already. That'll be some dry ass fucking cereal, dude. Because I'm gonna give you like a couple drips and you're gonna eat that cereal dry. That's why I have done so much research. I am so in touch with it. I am so passionate about it because I am witnessing it. And I witness it every single day and every single time I encounter people. So my final conclusion. Is this really what you want? Do you know the ROI? And is it in your favor? If it is really what you want, check. Okay. ROI is in your favor? Cool. We know that you won't be in debt for a while. You'll be in debt for some time, but you're going to make more money than you took out for debt. And then the last question. Shit, what was my last question?
Is finances.
Okay, do you know about finances? And I mean everything like debts, loans, credit, interest rates, variable rates, the market, the job market. Do you know about that stuff? Do you know when's the right time to do this? If you know, and you answered yes to all those three, I won't tell you that student loans will destroy your future because you're prepared for battle. But if you don't know and you haven't answered a no to one of those three, I will tell you it's going to destroy your future. It's not an investment at this point. It's going to destroy your future. You need to have those three things, in my opinion, before you take a student loan. But that was it on some student loans. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to go take one. No, I'm just kidding. Do you have anything else you want to close with?
No, I think we touched on it pretty well.
Okay. Well, besides that then, my name is Charles.
And my name is Dario.
And this is New Age